everyone, this is Professor Benjamin, and the objective of this video is to give you a walkthrough of part 2 of your course project. So part 2 of your course project requires you to draft 3 questions and 2 tables you would like to use when analyzing the data set you selected in part 1. Use past examples of teaching Excel using documents for examples of tables and questions you can ask. Next, you're going to explain which function in Excel you would use to find the information, whether it would be countifs, percentage, sum, average, whatever it is. And this document should be in, of course, a .doc or .docs format and uploaded in the portal. The second part is you're going to fill in the answers to these questions and tables using the Excel functions and formulas that you said you would use to do it. So you're going to upload the document with the questions and the answers to those questions and what you used to answer those questions, whether it was countifs, percentage, etc. And then you're also going to upload the Excel file with the calculations that you performed to be able to get those answers. So at the end of part 2, you should have 2 things for me: a Word document with questions that you want to analyze from your Excel file, and I'll get into that in a second. The answers to those questions, along with how you answered those questions, and then the Excel file with the calculations in it. Okay, so here we go. Let's just walk through one of them. I downloaded a previous teaching. I used the gun deaths one, but I downloaded a previous technology one, and you can see here are kind of the questions that write the total number of gun deaths in America that occurred in 2012 or through 2014. So this is a question, right? Like maybe we want to know your data, maybe we want to know the overall amount of gun deaths that happen, right, in specific years, and then compare those years. So some of you said that you were going to compare data, like I'm going to look at 2010 and 2016 data. Well, this would be a really good question to answer, like how many incidents happened in 2010 versus 2016? And then the second question you may want to answer is break down those incidents into type and the percentage, right, that happened in 2019 or 2010 and 2016. So maybe the second chart that you create is 2010, 2016, the type of incident that happened, the number of incident, and the percentage, right? So there's different ways that you could do that. And so really the first step in this assignment is to actually look at your data and say, what am I going to actually pull from my data that's meaningful and that I can give recommendations to police officers using or police agencies using? So a lot of you chose the incidents in Philadelphia. So I actually, I have one of those files, and I'm going to open it right now and kind of just walk through maybe some of the avenues that you can take in answering questions with the data on the incidents. A lot of you, okay, so there are main categories that people chose. A lot of people chose incidents. A lot of people chose the NYPD shooting data. A lot of people chose hate crimes. And a couple individuals chose human trafficking. So they were like the main groups that people chose data to analyze. Since most of you chose the incidents, I'm going to kind of walk through maybe what some of the ideas you can do. Because a lot of you may look at this and say, well, I don't even know what this means, or there's not enough data here, okay? So remember, all data sets have at the top, right, they have a line that gives you information on the specific, titles of the specific columns of this data. And then it gives you other information. So we're going to walk through those. So notice how I just kind of undid all of this data right away just so that I could look at it instead of having numbers. So the first thing is there's an object ID. And then the second thing there is this district. So this is the police district in which this happened, okay? And so this is something that you may want to look at in terms of what does maybe more crimes happen in specific police districts than other police districts. So maybe you want to look at percent of crimes that happen in police districts. And then maybe one of the recommendations you can give to police is, well, it looks like, and here's the general code, so you could actually use countifs and do police district and the type of crime. So you could do the year it happens, the police district, and the type of crime, and you can actually see what types of crimes happen in what police districts. I think this data is from 2014, so this data is from 2014. Here's another thing you can maybe analyze is the dates in which something happens. So the date and time is going to be tough to do countess with, but you could use column E and look at dispatch dates, right? And maybe you could look at how many, you could do a range here. How many dispatch dates happen greater than or equal to this number and greater than to equal to this number? And maybe you can analyze when crimes happen the most. Do crimes happen the most in the winter months or the winter quarter? Do incidents happen most in the summertime, or do incidents happen the most in the fall or the spring? You could do that, and you could do a range of months. Maybe you do from 7/9/2014, so that's July, August, and September. I don't know. Maybe you group the 3 months together and do a range there. So you could look at that. You could look at the hour. This is another thing you could look at. You could look at how many incidents happen in specific hours, or a range here. How many incidents happen at the 1 o'clock hour, or at, when I say 1 o'clock hour, don't forget, these are in military time. And look here, instead of doing the actual minutes, here's the hour and the minutes. Right here, this column just gives you the hours. So you could very easily look into the hours in which specific crimes happen or incidents happen and analyze that. So you can make a column that says in these different hours, and then you could list out the general code, right, and have theft, robbery, firearms, and then you could actually do how many happen within that hour and the percentage. So maybe thefts by vehicle happen more during the daylight hours rather than the nighttime hours. I don't know. You could analyze this, and then you could give recommendations to police officers. The other thing is there's block and lot location. There's this general code, which I don't know what that is, but some of you may know what that is. Then you have the general code. Of course, you're definitely going to want to use this because this gives you exactly what the incident was that happened here on this date at this time. Okay, so you want to look at that. This is really important data here. And this is probably what you're going to look at the most when you're thinking about your questions, and then what charts you're going to use to show that information. Remember, the charts that you create are going to be made into graphs, pie charts, bar graphs, and line graphs. So you have to really think about what you're trying to portray in step one. Like, okay, will this look good in a bar graph or a pie chart? I'll be honest with you, what would look great in a pie chart in this is the percentage of crimes that happen that are theft, robbery, firearm, list them all out and find the number that happens that are theft, list out all the categories and then do that. So I'm going to show you that in a minute. Now this data over here we're going to use for you to create your map, because you're going to map all of these incidents on a map, and you can use this longitude, latitude data to do that. And we're going to learn how to do that later this semester. So you'll know how to do this, how to take these longitude and latitudes and actually overlay them on a map. It's really easy to do, but you'll be able to make your own map of where all of these incidents in this entire database came from, where they were. It's really, really cool. All right. So let me show you something. So here's what I would do. So here's one, but I'm just going to open a blank document. I'm going to just show you. New document. And here's what I would do is I would insert. So if you are, depending upon what software you're using, Word or Google Sheets, Google Docs, I'm going to insert a table. And I'm going to do my table here, and I'm going to kind of like go here, and at the top I'm going to say type of crime, right? And I'm going to say number of crime and percentage. And then what I'm going to do is, this is one of the questions I want to answer, right? Is what are the types of crimes that I want to answer? So maybe I could do this, is I could go, let me just do this, and I'm going to say up here, maybe one of the questions I want to answer is, How many crime, what category has the highest crime rates? Okay. And then look, I made too many extra rows here. I'm going to delete these. So delete, I'm going to delete these columns, and then here I'm going to do type of crime, right? And on that list, there were a ton of types of crimes listed. I don't know, possession of firearm, right? And then I could do, I don't know, I think there was like theft by vehicle, okay, etc. And then what I'm going to do is I have to tell you, so maybe I do under here is I use COUNTIFs, right? I can, here, I used COUNTIFs for all to find the numbers, and then I use percentage to find the percentage of each crime. Oh my goodness, my typing is terrible today. Okay, so you could do that, right? And then you could do, so here you would use COUNTIFs. You would go back to your Excel sheet and you would start a new thing here, and you can do COUNTIFs and find the type of crime, etc., right? And you can fill in the sheet. So this is one of the questions you want to answer, right? But you need two questions, at least two questions. Another one would be, what crimes happen? Maybe another question you could do, is what district has the most crimes? Has the most incidents in 2014, right? And you could do that, right? Remember, to find percentage, you have to find the total number of incidents that happened in 2014, right? And then down here, maybe you can do another chart. You could do is you could do the districts, or the time of day, hour, right? Hours of the day. And you could do a COUNTIF and create a chart here and list out all the hours of the day, 24 hours in the day, unless you want to do a range. Maybe you do ranges between like 1 and 5, and then but I would make them smaller, but you could do an insert a table and do time range, and then you could do the number in the time range, and then the percentage. And you could do all the different times, or the hour, right? Or I should say hour range here. You could do that, right? And you could find out all the different hours and which one happens the most. You could also do, remember, times of the day or dates. So you could do dates and which dates have the most crimes happen on them. So there's 3 tables right there and questions that you're answering. So this is what you would submit to me, is a Word document like this where you've actually thought about what the end result of your project's going to be. So this is going to take some time for you to do that, right? What is my end project really going to look like? And what am I really want to give from my data of recommendations on? And then go to your data and say, okay, now how am I going to give those recommendations? And with the data that I have. And when I look at this data, you have some stuff to work with. You don't have tons of stuff to work with, but there's plenty of information here that you can give to law enforcement officers by looking at this data. Then you're going to create a Word document with 2 questions at least and 3 different charts. You're going to then tell me how you're going to solve these issues, and then you actually have to solve them on using COUNTIF or COUNTIFs on your Excel sheet. And then you're going to upload your Excel sheet along with this Word document to me. Okay, so that's the next assignment that's due. And I know you will be successful. I'll have a help session leading into it, but I hope this video gives you a little bit of a basis of what I'm looking for in part 2 of your project.